software technology organization like OpenSky, we typically have a group called the product group, and it's a bit of a potential misnomer when we're talking with retail folks such as yourselves, because from a software perspective, our product is the actual opensky.com website and platform. So I work closely with our marketing team and our technology team, as well as Will and the rest of the community team, to understand what kinds of tools and features and technology will make you as successful as possible, and figure out the best way to present it to you. How, do we build it ourselves? Are we licensing other technologies and integrating it into OpenSky, whatever else? So a lot of what my team is responsible for is figuring out what we should build and how we should integrate it into the OpenSky experience. So in addition to sort of having general purview over everything we build for both merchants such as yourselves and shoppers, I am specifically hands-on involved with the merchant toolkit. So I'm specifically working on building the tools and the emails that we send to you in our effort to make you successful at getting online on OpenSky, selling things effectively, and connecting with and engaging with your shoppers, which is really our big vision, right? Really, the reason we want you to choose OpenSky every day is not only for the sales, but because we want to give you this direct connection with your shoppers and give you some amplification to their friends and family, right? To help you sort of build your brand presence and grow your brand on the platform. So for that reason, as an example of sort of how that affects my team's decision making, right now we are generally building the OpenSky Merchant Toolkit with our sort of ideal user that we have in mind is a retailer who has already begun selling things online in other channels. So I think as an example of that, if someone comes in and they're just new to online retail and they're thinking about, I'm going to make my first foray into selling direct to consumers, I'm going to start with OpenSky, that user might find things a little bit more complicated because we are seeing that about 95 to 99% of our users have already set up a store on Etsy or on Amazon, or they've got a Shopify store or something else, and really where they are is they're saying, okay, I've got my products online, I'm selling, right? I know I've got a great product and I've got good branding around it. What I need now is I need to build my brand. I need to connect with more people, get myself out there with more shoppers, and basically get more eyeballs on my stuff, because I think as people see what I've got to offer, they'll become very excited about it. And right now, the opportunities for a sort of small business to build their brand once they've started are pretty narrow, right? Like there are many, many people saying, hey, we've got an online shopping cart for you. Those options are manifold. However, then once you've got everything set up and you're saying, okay, what's step two? How do I get big now that I'm out there? I think that becomes a lot harder, and that's sort of why I think Groupon is really appealing, right? Is because what Groupon is doing is no one's launching their business on Groupon. What they're saying to merchants is, we're going to help you take your business to the next level by bringing a lot more people across the threshold. We want to do the same thing, but we don't want to get into the game of deep discounting or something like that. Our methodology for getting you bigger and taking you to the next level as a business is connecting you with more people and doing it in an authentic way and doing it in a very personal way. So what we've done as an initial foray into this process is we've built out the merchant toolkit. And the merchant toolkit that you see today is actually largely built upon the system that our own team of buyers and merchants who have been working behind the scenes at OpenSky for the past couple of years used to use. What we did is we looked at that, we tried to strip out, we've got some sort of complex super user tools that do really powerful things that we think would just cross people's eyes. We tried to strip all that out, make it very simple and straightforward, and make it available to you, so that you, as someone running your own store, instead of having to pick up the phone and call someone like Will and say, hey, Will, I'd like to add one more product to my product line, you can actually do that yourself. And then we've tried to augment that by adding the fulfillment tools that you see in the Orders tab, adding the payment section that you see, and looking ahead, we'll be adding more social engagement tools so you can actually be talking with your shoppers directly to that baseline experience. So where we are today, having sort of made that initial foray, is right now we are deeply focused on two sort of very specific projects. One is fixing any bugs or problems that people are reporting to us. And some of those issues that we see are technical. So if you all were using the site earlier this week, you may, or even last week, you may have had some problems uploading photos. We've been working through those problems and doing our best to make sure that everyone can upload photos really easily and cleanly. Some of those bugs, though, are actually what we would as design flaws, right? So those would be situations where we would say, look, we built this, everything's working the way it should be working. The machine is humming along. However, it's actually just too hard to use. We didn't correctly design this in a way that really works for you. So we try to make those improvements as well. And the way we sort of build that list of things to do is we have a lot of internal testing that we do, but we also pay very close attention. Anytime you write an email to merchant help, for instance, that goes to our team of merchant specialists. However, it sort of gets BCC'd and routed over to my team as well. And we're watching all of that. We know the merchant specialists are going to be responding to you and talking to you, but my team is watching all those emails come in so that we have a pulse of, look, where are people getting stuck? And we're meeting several times a week, looking back at that email and saying, wow, we got 5 emails about this issue. Let's get on it. Let's get it cleaned up so that everyone can keep using the tool. So that's one area, sort of those cleanups. And the other is continuing to build out functionality. Really where we're focused right now very heavily is getting people started. Is one area. So, for instance, in an area where we want to help people get started more quickly, we are working to build a tool so that if you're uploading a photo and you want to crop it, you can actually do that right in the opensky.com merchant toolkit. So you can go right there. We'll have web-based tools so you can edit your photos, clean them up, make them look great right there on the site. The other area where we're focusing a lot of our current attention is on payment and what we call fulfillment, the shipping orders. So if you go into your payments page today, you'll see it's mostly copy that explains our payment schedule. We are actually building out all the detailed reports that as we do start paying you for your orders, and if you've already been paid, you've received those payments, but that's been a sort of direct email from us where we're handling that just person to person right now. We're building out those reports so you'd be able to see, all right, these are the orders that I shipped, and these are the payments that I've received, and here's how it maps together. As a piece of that, if there are any returns or cancellations, all of that will be there for you as well, and we'll present that to you so you can read the information right there on the page, as well as download that so that if you have your own accounting software or anything else and you want to import that into your own software where you're keeping track of your finances, you can do that as well. So getting you set up and running is one of our top priorities, and the other top priority is making sure that you're shipping orders effectively and that you're getting paid, right? And that all of that is transparent to you. You've got all the information that you need. So that's sort of where we are today. Looking ahead, our big priorities are going to be first looking at next generation of fulfillment and payments. So we know there are a lot of third-party software tools out there that are very popular with a lot of merchants. So we're working on integrations with some of those tools, right? So if you've got your own fulfillment system, as much as we love the OpenSky Merchant Toolkit order page and we want to make that great, we also don't want to move you outside of a tool or a solution that already works for you. So we'll be working to integrate with those solutions. So on that end, if you are working with existing tools and you have questions about can I ever or will I be able to connect this into my OpenSky experience so all this information flows back and forth between the systems without me having to manually do, transferring data or anything else, feel free to reach out to us and we can give you some specific answers as it relates to specific questions. And then the other piece where we're really going to be focusing our attention is on this engagement with your shoppers. So our initial foray into that space is going to be a very simple status update box, which will be, if you've used Twitter or Facebook, very, very similar, right? You type in a message. The difference, though, is when you type in that message, instead of it going to your friends and your family and talking about what you did for your last vacation, that will go to all of the shoppers who follow you, whether you originated them as a member or they found you as just a shopper on OpenSky and started following you. That will go into their shopping feed. So what that shopper will see is, in addition to seeing just sort of product updates and sales in their OpenSky feed, they'll start to see messages from the merchants themselves. So if you're working on a new product line, or if you're prepping for an event of some kind, you can actually message to those people. Or if you've just got a great sort of behind-the-scenes photos, you can share that with your shoppers as well. Because what we're hearing a lot of from our shoppers is a big piece of the appeal of OpenSky is not only the discovery of uncommon products, but getting to know the people and the passions that led to the creation of those products. So they're looking for more sort of behind-the-scenes stories of where this magic comes from, and so we want to give you the opportunity to actually share some of that magic with them. And really where we see that ending up is on the bottom line, right? Because the more magic you share with them, the more of an authentic emotional bond you feel with your shopper, the more customer loyalty we expect from them. We expect that to lead to more sales as well as more referrals, right? And so that's, again, going back to that early stage, that's sort of where I opened up when we were talking about how do I build my business. That's the answer we want to put into your hands. We've heard from various merchants, right, that they've got great stories to tell. Those are the kinds of people we're really excited to bring onto the platform. And more importantly, we've really heard from shoppers that they're very interested in seeing that story, hearing that information, and getting that in its own place, right? So getting out of trying to compete with things like vacation photos or something else. So that's sort of a high level of where we're headed. Will, do you want to open it up for questions?
Yeah, totally. So you guys feel free, you take advantage of this while Chris is here. Ask questions away. Francine, do you want to start?
Well, okay, this status update option, will we know when that's available and be prompted on that?
Absolutely, absolutely. So the will we know question is a great one. So that's the kind of feature improvement where as we roll out feature improvements, we would not only notify you of it, we would even consider things like producing a video that actually walks you through how to use it, as well as giving you tips on sort of how to use it effectively, right? So it's one thing to know, like, what button do I press? We also want you to have a good sense of what do people want to hear from me, and how can I make that effective? So we will be working to tie all of that together. But that raises another good point, which is the sort of how do I know question. One of the conversations that Will and I have been having just in the past couple of days is Will's doing a lot of work to line up these sort of Q&A sessions, make them available to you. We've got open office hours, whatever else. We're going to start, so currently he's emailing you about those things being available. We're also going to start baking those events right into the merchant toolkit. So every day as you're logging in to ship orders or collect your payment or whatever else, you'll be able to see an announcement right there as well, right? So we'll either be saying, hey, there's another open office hour, or Francine, to answer your question, we would also say, hey, coming up next week, we're going to be introducing this feature. Here's some initial explanations of what it will look like and how you can use it, right? So generally speaking, our policy is if we clean up or fix a problem that we feel like is very minor and doesn't affect many people, we generally don't make a big announcement about that, just because we don't want to clutter your inbox. What we do want to be communicating to you is anytime we make a significant improvement to the system, solve a problem that's been outstanding and affects a lot of people, or add a new feature set to the platform, in those cases you will be receiving a message from Will and his team saying, hey, this is coming out, or this is here, here's what it is, here's how to use it.
Okay.
Francine, any more questions?
Do you know when, if there's a projected time of when the videos will be able to show on the mobile sites again for each product?
That's a good question, Francine. I actually don't know the answer to that one. So what I will do, though, is I'll check in with the team that's working on our mobile site and get a sense from them of where it is in their priority list. Yeah, so I'm sorry, I don't actually have a date for that one.
Any others, Francine?
I think it's really exciting.
Thanks. We are very excited as well. And, I think one of the things that's been really one of the things that has made this so exciting for us is hearing so much feedback from people like you. Robin, I don't know if we mentioned this yesterday, but the spirit of the team is before we launched this, we did a lot of guesswork about a lot of research about what would make you successful. Now you're here, and so now we're tired of our own ideas. We want to hear your ideas on what will make you most successful, and start working that way.
Right. That's
well, I made a couple of phone calls last night to tell people, and they're like, as soon as you have that link, send it to us, and we will start the shopping masses. So that was a lot of fun because some people knew about Open Sky, and then there were others that were like, no, I don't know about it. And I'm like, oh, my God, you shop all the time. You should know about this. So,
Right. And I think some of the
think
people
it'll be good.
know about us, think of us as celebrity picks, which is, that was Open Sky last year, and I think that was fun and exciting for a lot of people. But we heard pretty clearly from people, the celebrities are nice, but who's behind these exciting projects, or the exciting products, and celebrities are just one part of the voice of, how people are finding things, so we want to bring their friends and families on board as well. So we're excited about that aspect of it, too.
Robin, any other questions?
I had one other question. I'm starting to do more of the pictures that you guys had talked about, and I'm really glad you're going to give us a little tool to help clean it up and make it better. Is there a way that we can submit a photo to you, and if it's too small or too big, it'll automatically go to the size that you need for the website?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if it's too big, so there's some nuance to this. So if I start to sound really confusing or strange, just let me know.
Okay.
If it's too big, we can work with you. So if it's too big, what our system is designed to do is we first crop the image to a square automatically. So something to be aware of, right? Like if you've got a great shot, but it's a long sort of wide rectangle, we will crop off the edges to make. So don't put the really cool stuff on the far right edge of a wide rectangle because it'll get cut out by our system. The first thing we do is we crop the square. And then if it's too big, we shrink it down to fit in our space. So too big is fine because we can shrink it down and do that and sort of preserve a lot of the fidelity of the image. If it's too small, that's the real gotcha. And that's where we can't actually do too much to help you because if we were to make it bigger, it would become blurry. And we don't actually have a technology available to us today that allows us to take a photo, make it bigger, and not make it blurry, right? Because unlike all the eye shows you see in the movies and stuff where they like zoom in and all of a sudden the pixely image becomes really clear, that's not available to, us today. I don't even know if that's real, right? So So that's the real challenge, right, is getting good sort of high-resolution images where high resolution refers to basically just like a lot of pixels. And so the good news is a lot of sort of standard consumer digital cameras, possibly even if you've got a smartphone, will actually take images that are big enough for us. However, the downside is like if you already have photos that are set up for like your Amazon storefront or something, those actually tend to be smaller than what we're looking for. And for that kind of a situation, we would need to reshoot the actual product photo.
So there's no way to make it more of a rectangle rather than a square because, as you know, my hangers are short, but they're long. They're wide. So on the large pictures, they're coming out fine. On the small thumbnail pictures, they're definitely getting cropped, with lots of head and foot room. Right.
So that's Robin, I think you raise a really good point. So, Will, I think that one of the ways that we could help out in general would be to talk about what are tactics, because there's an inverse problem, I think, for a lot of apparel retailers where they're saying, all right, I've got a model standing here, which is a very sort of tall, skinny photograph. So how do I set that up? So I think what we might want to do is actually just talk about, so we are looking for squares, yes, Robin, and the reason for that is just so the site all looks consistent and to a shopper. So I think what we need to do is talk about actual tactics for framing a photograph of either, a very sort of short and wide product or a very tall and narrow product such that it still looks good as a square photo.
Definitely. That's a great point.
Good, thank you.
All right, what else? Anyone else have anything to ask or comment on?
We're done at the moment.
Okay.
Sounds good. Well,
I'm looking forward to hearing what other marketing tools you're going to be able to help us with for us to push out. So, we'll be sending stuff out to the Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest and all of that stuff. But if you guys ever have like pre-formed emails with, your logo already in it, just anything that makes it easier for us, I think to send that out, that's like a great tool for you guys to do.
That's a great point. Yeah, and it's something, like, we've even talked about just making a media kit available to you. So if you're saying, look, I want to use the Open Sky logo, where can I get like a nice clean logo? On the followers page, I was actually looking at that today, you'll actually there's a section that's called badges, I believe, and it doesn't go in, it doesn't exist. So we gotta populate that and fill that in, and that's where all that kind of content would initially appear. But we'd love to get more, so what we're gonna start is with things like the logo, like some quotes. But if you're looking for more like that, like if you're looking for like a boilerplate press release or anything like that, we'd be happy to sort of consider that idea as well and start loading some of that up into that section.
Definitely.
Robin,
Definitely.
I don't know, can you not see the followers page until you've been approved? Is that right?
That's correct.
So Robin, you're not approved yet. So once you're approved on your merchant toolkit, there'll be a link to what's called followers, and what that has for right now is a very basic version of a sample email to send out to gain followers that we've crafted, and it allows you to just click copy, and then you can paste it into your your email. That has all of the information, the link back to your store, and there are also 2 Facebook and Twitter sample postings as well. So that's something to begin with that we are providing. Seeing that the followers tab, I guess, once you've been approved and submitted your store and been approved.
Well, I agree. Anything that we can just, if you send it to us on a regular, maybe weekly or bi-weekly basis, anytime that there's something that, if you had free shipping last week, if there was something that you just send us so that we don't have to sit there and try to figure it out for half the day, just something that's easy, that we can easily share and go, hey, free shipping on Open Sky this week. But we don't have, I mean, if you can make it as easy as possible for us, then we can just do that in a click and go on.
Absolutely. That's a great idea. That's something we can totally do.
I know it would make it a lot easier for me, because if you're a small business owner, you've got a million, you do everything, and it just makes it easier for us if you just make it as user-friendly as possible, and anything that we can share that helps get business that way is very helpful.
That's a great idea, Francine, is that idea of, in addition to telling you what's going on, I think we will put on our sort of to-do list or our success list, we will also try to include some language for you to say, like, if you're just looking to get the word out and you don't have time to write your own messaging around this, here's some examples of like how you could tweet it, how you could send it an email, whatever else. So if you just want to copy paste, or if you want to copy and edit it, whatever else, that's a great point to make things as easy as possible for you.
Perfect.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Great. All right. Any other questions or comments? Great. Well, we will be doing this every week. So every Friday at noon Eastern Time, we'll be having this, covering all different topics, and then taking your questions again. So be sure to dial in, same number every week. And as well as our, if you're ever in New York, I know you're not, Francine, but if you ever are, we have our open office every Thursday afternoon, where you can come in and meet with an Open Sky specialist, as Robin did yesterday. So we are going to continue doing these kind of outreach programs for our community to make sure everyone's involved in getting the help that they need. And as always, you can email merchanthelp at AOL.com. Merchanthelp. opensky.com. That was going back to 1996. Merchanthelp at opensky.com, and we'll get right back to you with any of your needs. So thank you both for calling in for our first open discussion, and we are glad we were able to talk and hopefully provide some help.
Thank you.
All right, thanks guys. Take care.
Thanks, Al.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.